why is it that I keep saying no, but people aren't like respecting my boundaries and kept feeling victimized? I went into some sort of altered state and I jumped in the car and I packed up all my stuff and a couple hours later, I drove off the road into the Colorado River. I got out of control and then I sped up and it was about a 12-foot drop off the river. I was asking, what do I need to do? Like, why do I feel out of control? I feel out of control and I don't know how to like change this or remedy this. The indication was that I could heal and I could choose my path in life and that I wasn't always going to be a victim to circumstances.
Hello, welcome to the next episode, Healing Millions podcast. I'm so excited to be here. Today I have a very special guest, Sydney Francis, who is a mystic, teacher, and wounded healer whose life reads like a spiritual epic, from losing her father as a child to surviving trauma, rape, and mass shooting, to driving off a cliff and experiencing divine intervention that changed everything. Sydney's journey is one of raw truth, deep pain, and profound transformation. She studied under master healers, earned 3 master's degrees, created her own healing modality that waves together spirituality, psychology, and art. Sydney, it's my honor and pleasure to have you on my show. Welcome.
Thank you, Nina. It's an honor and pleasure for me too. Thank you. I feel the excitement and tingles.
Sydney, you've been through so much, losing your father at a very young age, surviving trauma, mass shooting, even near-death experiences. What helped you keep going when everything felt too heavy?
Whew, that's a powerful question. Okay, I might cry, but it's good. It's good because I'm like, your introduction was really powerful. Thank you. Well, I think I have, and I pray that most people have, kind of like, I don't know if it comes from, I would say it comes from our superconscious, like a survival mechanism that, you know, even when we tune it out, like it's still like, do this or take care of that. That has really helped me through. I guess I would call it, you know, you could also call it intuition, or maybe I have guardian angels and all of those things. The reason I say is I don't know if everyone has it is because I used to work with severely mentally ill teens, and some of them had really horrible very early childhood before 2 years old. And when I listened to them, I had a hard time hearing that they had this impulse to survive and thrive. And so I guess, like I say, I pray for anyone listening that they have this impulse to survive and heal and transform, you know, and you can always ask, I guess, God or whatever you believe in for help with that. I would say it's a spiritual impulse to like ask for divine help and then kind of listen for it and follow the threads and just keep going, keep moving towards it.
So you touched something that I really want to talk about because a lot of us are told to just move on from pain. What is the truth about grief that you wish more people understand?
I would say that there's a lot of gold in pain or a lot of power or empowerment. I don't know. You know, I say gold because it's symbolic. Like there's a lot of abundance or value in pain. When my dad died when I was 10, my mom definitely told me to move on from it. She was like it was like at the memorial service, after the memorial service, she said, "Your dad is dead. You know, look forward into the future. Don't dwell on it. You know, you got to move on." And I was just like, you know, I'm 10 and I'm like, what? I just lost my dad. He was my nurturing parent. And, you know, my mom's not great with emotions, but I had to grieve in private. You know, I had to really push it down because it was very uncomfortable for my mom if I was emotional. You know, I think now that she probably has a narcissistic personality disorder. So she would get really angry if I got emotional. So wasn't really allowed to grieve or maybe developmentally, I couldn't deal with it until I moved out of the house and it wasn't until I was about 18 that I actually started grieving my dad. And it was really, deep at what happened was I was in psychology. I was taking adolescent development, and I was reading all these things about parent suicide and parent death. And it like triggered basically a flood of emotions that felt like I fell into a sinkhole of grief. Like I just like went into another world where all I felt was grief. And it was sort of like a cave. I wasn't sure if I could see the light for a while. And I was like, what do I do? I don't know what to do with this. I almost dropped out of college. It was like 2 weeks ago in the semester. And my teachers were like, nope, nope, don't drop out. And I somehow got through. And anyway, over the years, I've realized that in our pain and in our trauma is where it kind of lies the transformation and the energy for our biggest growth and our biggest opportunities. And I guess in a garden, like I use the garden metaphor in my soul gardening program, it's like, the weeds in the garden or whatever. In permaculture gardening, you cut the tops of the weeds and you use them for the compost to build the soil. And that's kind of like our traumatic experiences, the clippings and the weeds and the things that we need to cut away. That's all fertile compost for our future growth. And so it's definitely a transformative process of like delving into it, finding the meaning in it, and then using it for growth in the moment, but also for the growth the ongoing growth, the journey of growth.
I really, really love what you said because a lot of people think that pain and suffering and that tragic moment they had was the worst thing that happened to them. But I said, like, yes, it was tragic. It was a lot of pain, but it was not all black. I experienced from my own journey, like the worst traumatic experiences in my life that I had, but the biggest transformator from my future self. They were a really turning point for me to become a person I'm today. And even though it was a painful experience, I got some new skills. I got some new gifts that shaped me in who I am today. And that's for me also powerful. I also love to do this gift process to really list down all the tragic moments that happened to me. And then, okay, but what did I gain from that experience? What did I learn? What new skills I have? And then you will see it's not all black and white. There's also some other things in between. And I really love how you said that. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I love thinking of it as a gift, or like it's this like gift and abundance that's an opportunity for us to develop and maybe give, if it's appropriate for the person to give back to other people.
Yes, to pass on knowledge and experience because I always tell people to share their story because you never know how many lives you will touch with your story. Maybe somebody who is few steps behind you need that rays of hope with your story. And that would be for them everything. Just to, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too. And
That's really lovely.
I really love share people's stories on this podcast because I really want to uplift and show what is possible. I know sometimes when you go through really tragic moment in your life, you think, oh my God, this is it. It can never be better. But it can. It's just a chapter. It's going to be over one day and you will learn so much from that. Which brings me to the accident you had. The accident that you had when you fell off the cliff. It sounds like a wake-up call. Can you take us back to that moment? What happened and what shifted for you after it?
Okay, great. I'm glad you asked about this. So I was 20 years old. I had graduated from college a couple months earlier, and this was a couple years after the grieving process. This was like 2 years after I started grieving my dad's death that I told you about earlier. And I was working at a summer camp and had a male boss who was, I think he was 45 and I was 20, and he kept making advances at me, and I kept saying, no, I'm not interested in you. I just want a good working relationship. And at some point, we were in a kitchen, at a summer camp, and it was like long hours every day. So I spent like a long time, hours with this person. Anyway, I was offered a promotion with this job, and he wanted to celebrate, and then he went to kiss me, and it just like, it wasn't so much that it was a kiss, it just like kind of set me off because already I had been raped at 16, and I had been raped again at 18, as you mentioned, and I'd also, traveled around like Italy and Greece and been touched and followed, and I was just like, it was more about me, honestly. Like, why is it that I can't make myself heard? Why is it that I keep saying no, but people aren't like respecting my boundaries, and I kept feeling victimized? And so it's just like I say, maybe I went into some sort of altered state, and I jumped in the car and I packed up all my stuff and I drove off, and then a couple hours later, I drove off the road into the Colorado River. It was about a 12-foot. It was like I got out of control, and then I sped up, and like it was about a 12-foot drop off the river. And fortunately, I was okay. I did see my life flash before my eyes, and I was okay. And I climbed out, and a little while later, some really nice men in a truck helped me, took me to a town, and they said, "Oh, we have somebody who can help you." And it was like miraculous, the help that I received. I spent the night while they worked on my car. Like, I didn't actually think I was going to be driving away. I thought my car was destroyed. And this amazing mechanic worked on my car. Anyway, I got my car back the next morning and was able to drive away. And I decided I needed to go back past the accident site to leave. And as I got to that point, it just like a flood of like, kind of when you come out of the shock of an accident, it like hit me, and I just started to sob. And I don't know if I don't remember at this point, because I'm 52 now, it's been a long time, but if I asked for help or if it was just like I finally surrendered and this presence came or was there and was like very comforting and was like, I think I was asking like, what do I need to do? Like, why do I feel out of control? Why do I feel like, out of control, like in my car? Like, it was like, I feel out of control and I don't know how to like change this or remedy this. And this presence indicated it was like a guardian angel or guardian spirit guide. Anyway, the indication was that I could heal and I could choose my path in life, and that I wasn't always going to be a victim to circumstances, and that it was like, that was kind of like you said, an awakening, a new beginning. And somebody had given me a copy of Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. When this happened was in 1993, and so it was still pretty new then. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start with reading this book. Like, this is where I'm going to start this journey. And I was very dedicated. I read the whole book, and then I was like, every week I took a chapter and I did all the exercises, and I was very methodical. I was just graduated from college. I'm a student. So anyway, it was a profound change and awakening. And then only a couple months after that, I had a dream that God spoke to me and said, do spiritual, that my work in life is in spiritual work. And that really was like, I got chills, like kind of like the beginning of this journey in a way, of the healing journey at least.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I'm truly, you had to go through all the experience to awaken. I want to ask about this divine intervention that you had.
Okay.
The presence that appeared in front of you, how it looked like, the voice. Like, can you describe what that was for you?
In my memory, I see like a light, or I don't really see very clearly a body necessarily, but I see like a light or like a warmth. It's like I heard something, I felt something. It was kind of like wrapped around me. I had pulled over, obviously. I wasn't driving still. And it was like I would say a large presence that I associate more with a light than any form. And I did like I'm not sure what level I was seeing it on, kind of like an intuitive level, but also I did hear like there was some things that I heard in my mind, like I heard like you can heal and like take these steps and like you can choose to make this right. This isn't this, you're in control of, like was more like comforting and like also assuring like you can make these change. Like this isn't like going to be your whole life, you know, the pain and the suffering and the trauma.
Thank you so much. I think that's a very important message for everybody who is listening or watching this interview because we have a choice. And in your case, you chose to heal and you chose to read the books, you chose to do the exercises, to implement things. And this is what is the first step, actually, really to start and choose yourself, choose to heal. And when you decide, when you make a firm decision, this is what I'm going to do, I think the universe will provide everything what you need to heal. And very often we just need to ask for help, and like the universe is always going to provide help that you need.
That's been my experience too, is that when I finally am like, especially the surrender part, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Like at that point, I was 20. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like trying to like, right. I was trying to be in control and it was out of control. And so part of it was like surrendering and asking for help. I do feel like I asked for help at that time, like just like show me something or help me somehow. And then, deciding to say yes to that help, or just deciding like I'm going to heal from this does seem to initiate a process where you get that divine help, where it's like, oh, you need this, like in the car accident, the car mechanic was definitely an angel. Like he worked late into the night to fix my car, and like there were a lot of synchronicities, and it's like it's almost like when we stop and surrender, we start to see there's always been help around us, and then maybe all of a sudden we're open to receiving it. Yeah.
The message that you got during that divine intervention was that you can heal and you can help others. Now you help others through art, psychology, and healing. How exactly you help people with your skills?
Okay, that's a good question. I do a couple different modalities. One is what I was telling you, soul gardening, and that, I guess that's I consider that a spiritual practice. It's a practice of aligning, of attuning yourself to the moon cycle and the seasons of the rhythms of nature for our own growth. I believe that we also have a rhythm. We also have a seasonal rhythm. Humans have a seasonal rhythm, and that if we attune to them, we can optimize that growth and transform. Just like a tree loses its leaves in the winter, a fruit tree loses its leaves in the winter, and then goes through this quiet period, and then it does the blossoms or has the leaves, and it goes through a process, right? We also have a, like, I don't know, physical, energetic, emotional, spiritual rhythm similar that goes through the seasonal cycle. And so I teach people how to align with those rhythms, and use them for the healing transformation. So the moon is a big part of that. I wrote a book called Activating Lunar Alchemy. That's my that's my book. And that teaches you, okay, it's similar to it's related to the soul gardening. The moon part teaches you how to align with the moon cycle. You seed your dreams on the new moon. You take supportive actions on the first quarter. You do self-reflection on the full moon, and then you do a releasing ritual at the last quarter. And it's a process for moving towards your dream. It's a manifestation tool on one hand, like you manifest your dreams. But in order to manifest your dreams, I've found that it's really a personal process, right? It's about being in resonance with the dream. And so what I found is every time I set out on a dream to achieve a dream, I'm the one that has to change in order to make it a reality, right? It requires my growth. It requires my actions. It requires usually, right? If your dream is like somewhere out there, it requires a lot of growth and going through a lot of layers of your own limitations before you can reach this new level of what you're trying to create. So there's healing in it in the sense that as you do, especially the full moon part of the self-reflection, you start to see what's not in alignment between what you want, what you're asking the universe, and like, I mean, in the good way, right? You see what's in alignment, and then you also see like what's not in alignment. And then the last quarter ritual is for letting go of like what isn't in alignment with me to that's keeping me from moving towards this dream. And you just like growing a garden, right? You plant the seeds and it takes time, but you know, water it, you nurture it, you fertilize it, you cut the weeds, you do all these things, right? And then you have your harvest eventually, you know what I mean? In that natural timing that it takes to unfold. So anyway,
I
that's
love what you said because you said something very important here that I want to go back to. You said like if you have a big dreams, there's a lot of process inside of you that need to happen in order to achieve the dream. And so many people think that manifestation doesn't work. It works, but you know, it depends what kind of frequency you emanate. You
yeah.
match what you emanate is like what you vibrate. So if you want to achieve your dreams, you really need to work on yourself and match the vibration of the dream that you want to attract. And I
Right,
love
right,
what you said.
exactly. And that will ultimately require often if you've had some traumatic experiences in your life or you have early childhood patterns that aren't in resonance with that dream, part of that process is confronting those, you know, coming up against those patterns and deciding, again, it goes back to choosing, like, do you want to keep those patterns? And is that where you want, you know, what does your life look like with those patterns? Or do you want to let them go or create a new pattern, right? That one that's more supportive of where you're going.
I love what you said. So you basically teach people how to tune into their body and listen to their body and really tune into their intuition to really find the way for themselves because their intuition knows the best. And what would you say to people who feel numb or disconnected from their spirit? Like how they can start trusting their intuition? What steps can they take to connect with themselves?
Okay, I love this question. Okay, well, I'll go back to the story. For me, it required an awakening. Like you said, I got in the car accident before, right before. I mean, maybe I was primed and ready, but like that car accident like shook me up and shook me up enough to ask for help from God. And I am a reverend, so I believe in God, and you know, I'm finding more and more that I just ask for help when I need help. But if someone realizes they feel disconnected, I mean, I applaud them because they've actually have the self-awareness that they don't feel connected with their intuition or they don't feel connected with their spirit. So that's actually a huge self-awareness that they feel that. So that's great. And so I would start asking, like, I would start, you know, if you want to call it prayer or meditation, whatever, but I would start asking, like, whatever you believe in, like, I want help with developing my intuition, or I want help feeling more connected to God or to spirit. And then, you know, make some space to experience that, receive it. Like, I personally, it's spring now here. You know, I like to sit in my garden and meditate. I meditate for like 20 minutes and then I pray for a while. And if I have time, I like to just sit there and basically the silence, I guess, is what I would recommend. Like give yourself time in silence so that you can actually feel spirit around you and sense it. Because maybe you've got monkey mind at first or racing thoughts, but eventually those thoughts will start to clear and you'll start to feel your intuition. You'll start to, you know, hopefully you have a garden or a park near you. You can like hear the birds chirping. You can feel nature around you. You can start to feel the presence of God, you know, around you. And also ask, you know, ask for help with this and then give yourself the silence and the space to start receiving it and cultivating it.
You said something during this interview a couple of times, and I want to go back and emphasize on this. You need to start asking. You need to ask because the help is always available to us. And yes, we feel sometimes lonely in this life, but we are never alone. And we have so much support. And even though it's invisible support, it is still support. Even if you don't see it, start asking and you will see the evidence that support is there.
Mm. Yes.
I love how you help people using psychology and art to heal their trauma. For somebody who is really not creative, but still wants to heal and try art, and like, what would you say to them?
Okay, well, yeah, you don't have to do visual art. I mean, my background's in visual art, but I used to teach art appreciation to first year students in college. And I truly believe we are all creative. It's just finding the medium that's the way that you like to express yourself. So, in terms of the emotions like expression through, we can work with our emotions through anything that stimulates our senses. So it can be cooking and the sense of smell, or it can be, it can be art and visual and, through our eyes. It can be music or dance through our bodies. It can be singing. It can be, I think, you can, gardening, whatever calls you, the emotions love to work through texture. Like if you're into knitting or, whatever, there's so many choices. Like I would say pick something that, it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't have to be visual or painting. Like anything that kind of moves you in that way, like that's moving your emotions. Like just kind of think out of the box. Like what inspires you? Like I say, it could be cooking or it could be singing. Just start learning about it, start, if you're not doing it, start, take a class or get a book on it or something like that. And if you are doing it, like figure out what needs to happen. I'm kind of at that point right now where I've been doing art a long time and I need so not that I'm going to give up art, but I need something new to kind of keep it fresh. I'm thinking maybe I'll take some voice lessons or something. I'd like to learn to develop my singing. So, just be open to like thinking about what excites you, what excites your enthusiasm and your inspiration, and then do it.
I really love what you said because sometimes people think they have to do things certain way, and that's
Mm,
not true. I think people need to listen to themselves more and
mhm,
tune in what they really want, what makes them joy,
mm,
makes them happy, what what brings them like a lot of fun in their life. Because fun in my world and fun in your world is completely different.
mhm. Yes.
Feeling of happiness and your feeling of happiness completely different. And things that bring me joy in my life are not the same things that bring you joy in your life.
Mm,
So I just want to emphasize this for everybody who is listening or watching, like find your things. Find things that make you happy. It doesn't have to be like cooking, art, it can be something else. But just allow yourself to express yourself through the things you love to do.
yes, definitely. And do you think are your listeners interested in angels at all?
Yeah,
Okay,
they know that they are mostly
okay.
healers, spiritual people.
Okay, so I would ask, I've been doing this more recently, and it's May, and it's a good time. I would ask Archangel Hani, if you're having a hard time with this, I would ask the Archangel Haniel for help with this. It's he, she, doesn't matter, but let's say she is the Archangel of joy and connected to Venus and nature, and so I've been asking her to help me remember what brings me joy and kind of find a deeper level of it and, really get into that place of joy and bliss. And so I've been asking her for help, like maybe for the last 2 months on this.
Thank you so much for sharing. For somebody who is listening to this and says, okay, you were able to move on in your life because you studied psychology,
Mhm,
you got help, but I have nobody here
mhm,
that can help me. And I tried reading self-help books, but it didn't work for me. I tried meditation, it didn't work for me. How can I help myself?
mm. Okay. I guess my answer again would be to really ask your higher self or God, like, what what modality might work for you, what person might work for you. Again, sometimes that first step before asking is the surrender, like just being like, I really want to find a solution to this situation. And then being like receptive, because maybe you want to write a book. I was writing a chapter for a book this last week, and it was like, oh, writing is a healing process for me. Writing my story with the idea that I'm going to help somebody else maybe is like a part of my healing journey. So maybe you want to take a storytelling class, or maybe you want singing, it's kind of with the creativity again, but like maybe doing the self-help books isn't the right modality for you. And it really is, like you said, Nina, like really listening to your intuition about what is going to work for you. I do think it helps to have, I mean, I talk a lot to my guides, but I think it does help to have someone or a support system. I had a behavioral health counseling session on Monday, and the woman asked me a question that actually brought me to tears. She was like, what reciprocal relationships do you have in your life? And I started to cry. I mean, I feel emotional telling you this, but I'm a mom of 4 kids, and I've got a husband, and, I do this healing work. So often I'm the one that listens to I listen to everybody else. And I was like, it kind of struck me in my heart. Like, I'm not the one sharing, or usually I'm just the one that's hearing and, whatever, being in the role maybe of the healer or the listener. And that was big for me to consider what are, like, to just ask myself the question, like, what are the reciprocal relationships in my life? And even ask myself, like, am I willing to open myself to having more of those? So that, that might mean going to, for me, a trauma healing therapist, or finding a mentor or something like that. And that was really vulnerable. So I just would, I'm telling you this from my own experience of having, traumatic life experiences. We often do need someone else, a compassionate, um, to talk to. I mean, I'm not saying you have to go to therapy, but like have those relationships where you can be heard and be vulnerable in addition to the other things that fill you.
I love what you said, and I agree with you, especially when it comes to coaching. I always say, like, I would not be here talking to you, doing all these amazing things without help of all coaches and healers I had in my life. When I was in enormous pain, when nobody could help me, I reached for help. I was like, okay, if this doesn't work, something else is going to work. It must be a solution for my pain. If I cannot find it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just haven't found it yet. And that's it. Like, I just have to figure out. Like, I just need to ask another person and find a solution that works for me. Like, that's it. And I always say, like, and healers play a significant role in my life. Like, the biggest problem is, it's not that we don't want to heal. Every single one of us wants to be happy, wants to enjoy life, wants to have fun in life. The problem is, when we start working on our emotions, nobody ever taught us how to do that. That's the thing. We learn so many things at school, but we never learn how to process emotions. And we start journaling, we start meditating, we start doing all that, all kind of work. But the thing is, and of course, all emotions come up and we have no clue what to do with that. And then we think it didn't work. It worked, but we didn't know how to process it, how to move through that. And
Yes.
that's why it's so important that you have somebody who knows, who can help you, who can support you during that process. I always say to people, like, healing is a process. It cannot happen overnight. You can become pain-free, like in one session, but to
Yeah.
really heal, it
Right.
takes time. It really
Yes.
takes time, because very often we heal, we work on our emotions, and all of a sudden we have some challenges in our private life. We have like family issues, life issues, all kind of things, and that put us off the track, and we lose like the goals that we worked towards, and all of a sudden like we feel lost.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we really need help, and why we need somebody to help us, somebody who knows, who walk the talk, and who has the tools to help us. Really love that. Cindy, I just want to say thank you so much for the work you do. Thank you for the beautiful light you bring to this world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
But
Nina.
everybody who is listening or watching, if you need help, please reach out to Sydney. She's amazing. We will put her contact details in the description below so you can reach out to her. And if this episode helped you, inspired you, moved you, touched you, please share it with your friends and family members. We want to help as many people as possible. We want to help heal millions. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work you do. Until next time, be brave, shine your light because the world needs that love and light inside of you more than ever. I'm sending you lots of love and big hug. Bye for now.